Poker is the only sport where you can sit on your couch, eat a bag of chips, and honestly believe you are better than the professionals. You don't see people watching the Champions League saying, "Yeah, I could have made that header," but you see people watching the World Series of Poker saying, "I would have bluffed him there." Today we're going through the levels of your life as a poker player. It's a journey that starts with hope, moves into math, and usually ends with you explaining expected value to a bank teller while they deny your car loan. Level 1. The Kitchen Table Legend. This is the honeymoon phase. You and 4 friends, $5 buy-in. You don't actually know what a side pot is, so you just throw all the money into a pile and hope for the best. At this level, you think bluffing is the whole game. You try to look like a movie character. You stare at your friend Steve-O so hard he thinks you're trying to read his soul. But really you're just trying to remember if a straight beats a flush. It doesn't. But you convince everyone it does, because you're the loudest one there. You win $15 and spend $20 on the pizza you ordered for the group. Level 2. The Online Micro Stakes Grinder. A dark room, stick figure has multiple screens. One says you've lost 4 cents. You've discovered the internet. You deposit $20. You're playing 2-cent, 5-cent stakes. This is where the soul begins to die. You're playing 4 tables at once. You feel like a genius trader in a movie. You win a pot of 40 cents, and your heart rate goes to 140. Then, you lose a bad beat. Someone calls your all-in with a 3 and a 9 of clubs, and hits a flush on the last card. This is when you learn the language of the online poker player, the rant. You go into the chat box and call a stranger from Brazil a donkey. You spend the next 3 hours watching YouTube videos titled, "How to Crush the Micros." You learn what VPIP and PFR mean. You stop seeing people. You start seeing numbers. You haven't seen sunlight in 3 days, but you're up $1.14. You're basically a professional. Level 3. The Casino Regular. You finally walk into a real casino. It smells like old cigarettes and desperation. You sit at the $1, $2 table. You try to look like you've been here before, so you buy a $12 coffee and put on giant headphones even though there's no music playing. You meet the cast. The old man coffee. He hasn't played a hand since 1994. If he raises, you fold. If he breathes, you fold. If he looks at you, you fold. He will only play aces. The aggressive kid. He's 21, wears a hoodie, and thinks he's in a TikTok edit. He raises every hand. You hate him, but you're too scared to call him. The tourist. He's here for a bachelor party. He doesn't know the rules. He is the most dangerous person on earth, because he has no fear. You realize that a session isn't 2 hours, it's 12. You lose track of time. You walk out at 5 a.m., the sun is coming up, and you realize you just spent the equivalent of a work week to break even. You feel like a ghost. Level 4. The GTO Solver Robot Fun? What is fun? You don't play poker for fun anymore. You play for frequencies. You own a $500 software program that tells you that on a flop of Jack 8-4, with 2 hearts, you should check raise 14.2% of the time. You sit at the table and you don't talk. If someone asks how your day is, you calculate if answering is positive expected value. You have 0 friends left because you kept telling them their life choices were suboptimal. You win money, but you don't feel anything. A win is just data validation. A loss is just variance. You have become a human calculator. So you are technically a pro, but you're also the most boring person in any room. You can explain the minimum defense frequency of a blind versus blind battle, but you can't remember your mother's birthday. Level 5. The High Stakes Ghost. This is the end. You're playing for $100,000 pots on a live stream. You're wearing a watch that costs more than your childhood home. But here's the secret nobody tells you. You don't actually own your money. You're staked. You have 5 investors who own 90% of your soul. If you win, you get a small cut. If you lose, you're in makeup, which is just a fancy word for being in debt to a guy named Vegas Dave. You spend your life in 5-star hotels, but you're always looking over your shoulder. You've seen everything. You've seen billionaires cry over a card. Seen legends go broke in an hour. You realize the game never actually ends. The blinds just keep going up until you can't pay them anymore. So, you quit. You sell your software, you delete the apps. You go back to Steve-O's kitchen table for the $5 game. Steve-O goes all in for $2. You know mathematically he has nothing. You know his range is weak. You know his timing tell. But instead of thinking about the math, you just look at your cards, laugh, and say I call. You lose the $2, and for the first time in 10 years, you don't care. Because at this level, the only thing you're trying to win is a good time.